moment they met, my father was in awe. My college boyfriend carried not one but 2 toolboxes in the trunk of his car. My dad, a real duct tape MacGyver, and this guy were a match made in heaven, always ready to protect and to fix and to save. Even my grandmother loved him, naming the new beau my Rock of Gibraltar for his solid entrance into my quicksand life. I thought I loved him. I loved that my family did. So it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to say yes when he popped the question. We married young, and I made many promises about a lifetime together, promises that led to buying a home, adopting a dog, even planning a family. Within 20 months of that marriage, I left it. It wasn't anything he did or didn't do, but like a ton of bricks, it hit me. I wasn't in love, and when you're not in love with the person you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, you're not happy. I wanted and I needed to be happy. But to be happy, I had to let go of my own game plan. I had to break rules I'd been holding on to with white knuckles all my life, rules that my tribe had reinforced, like put others' needs before your own. Be loyal, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Persevere, no matter how challenging the circumstances. And a promise made is a promise kept. In this case, my happiness hinged on my willingness to break my own rules. And you can only imagine the crisis of character this presented to a firstborn child for whom rule following might as well be programmed in my DNA. I was heartbroken with regret, and I was ashamed for breaking a promise. But equally clear and confident in my decision. You see, I discovered this amazing truth. Just around the bend from my safe, unhappy life was an entirely different tale in which I was the heroine of my own story. This discovery moved me in dramatic ways. I was my own Rock of Gibraltar. Immediately, the fog lifted across my whole life. I traded in my MBA candidacy for a master's in organization development. I started my own business with hardly any seed money. And I lasted a career helping others find the heroine in themselves. I bring diverse people together to dream big and make things happen. And I do this because I believe that people and companies and communities are not problems to go in and solve, but owners of infinite potential. And that potential can only be harnessed when we step off the safe, rule-abiding path and ask new questions. I've worked with many inspiring organizations in Rhode Island and around the world, and I'm here to share a story about one of my favorite disruptive rule-breaking programs. Meet 3 CFOs, pictured here before their village bank in Chitwan, Nepal. I visited them in 2009 to witness and study firsthand the results and impact of Worth, a women's empowerment program. In Nepal, there are 30 million people, and over half of them live in poverty, earning less than $1.25 a day. Enter Worth, empowering more than 125,000 rural Nepalese women with the skills and confidence necessary to run a village bank, even start their own business together. In terms of wealth creation, a woman who previously struggled to save 15 cents a week in mandatory bank savings now has an average equity stake of $116 in her bank. And here's the best part. They did what their tribe and they themselves never thought they'd do. They broke the rules and abandoned expectations of limitation. In one village, a woman of worth about my age wrapped her arm around my shoulder and toured me through her village to show me her new home. Her collaborative banking efforts with other village women had amassed enough dividends to build a brightly painted blue cement house that stood in front of the thatched roof manger she used to call home, now shelter for her goats. Didn't matter that the floors inside were made of dried mud. This was a woman of immense wealth, indomitable strength, determined confidence and pride, not only for herself, but for the younger villagers walking in her footsteps. More significant than what these women were told or what they were taught was what they were asked. In addition to workshops in credit and literacy and village banking, they engaged in a process called Appreciative Inquiry, like the one you see here with my colleague, Marcia Odell, who led many of these discussions. They were asked questions like, tell me about a time when you overcame an obstacle you never thought you could, an experience of pride and achievement. Their personal stories excavated evidence that they were already strong, worthy women, that they could survive a Maoist rebellion, for example, and start a small business, such as a village kiosk for selling soda and crackers so they could send their kids to school, that they could provide prosperity and safety for their family, even during a war. One of the most amazing things about this program is that even though the funds ceased in 2001, many of the funding donoring agencies presumed that the village banks would cease as well. Not so. Even though the funding was gone because the conflict had arrived, many of the village banks continued to prosper, and further, women entrepreneurs traveled to nearby villages to inspire others to create community banks of their own, 425 in total. They believed in community prosperity against all odds, no matter the cards, the assumptions, the rules stacked against them. Since its beginnings, Worth has more than doubled these women's collective savings. It's tripled the number of Nepalese women who can read and write, and it's quadrupled the number of women in business. But more significant than what it did was how it did it. Asking questions to create knowledge and not just impart it. Questions to shatter assumptions. Questions to instill confidence in what's possible. To appreciate and affirm the warrior, the heroine already within. I stand here today, a very happily married mom of two beautiful girls. In the faces of those women of worth, I saw myself. I saw mothers, daughters, sisters, and girlfriends. I saw entrepreneurs, warriors, heroines, rule breakers. I share their story and my own here today, so you might ask yourself what rules you're holding on to, even unknowingly. What assumptions or game plans have you on autopilot? What are we complacently accepting that we ought to re-examine and reimagine? And what questions might we ask to bring out solutions for our village? Here's one. If you, not your supervisor or your elected officials or whomever you consider your rock of Gibraltar to be, if you could change one thing in your life or in this world for the better with the confidence that you'd be successful, what would you change? And who from your village would you involve? No success happens in isolation. So start here, look within, and let out your inner hero or heroine. As Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. Thank you.